Watering by hand was the very first way I learned how to irrigate any garden, as I'm pretty sure it was for most gardeners. But you know what, I'm really grateful that it was the first way. Reason being is because I was able to learn a lot about what was going on in my garden, what insects might be attacking what different types of diseases might be happening in my garden, or if it's a deficiency. I learned most of that by watering by hand, and of course a little bit of research. Because watering by hand is by far the most intimate way that you're ever going to irrigate your garden. I mean, it's a perfect time to really just take a look at what's going on in your garden. You can come out here and weed. I'm constantly grabbing this grass. So yeah, man, there's tons of benefits to hand watering. When I go to water, I always want to aim for the base of the plant, trying my best to avoid the tops of the plants, you know, because by getting water on the tops of the plants, you're now just asking for problems. Now when I water to flood, making sure that I got this bed well saturated, because I don't want to keep coming out here every single day. I want to actually come out here and water as less as I have to. So the amount of water I spray at one time, to me, is always the best. When I normally water is early in the morning, right before the sun comes up. That way the sun will gradually evaporate that water as it rises and gets hotter and hotter in the day, as opposed to watering it in the middle of the day, like at 12 o'clock noon, where the sun is at its most intense, thus evaporating a lot of the water that you have just now put on. I don't like to water at night, although sometimes my schedule forces me to. The reason I don't like watering at night is because, again, it makes it more prone for my plant to catch diseases, because now the water is just sitting there for a longer amount of time, depending on what time in the evening I decided to water, or I could water. I want to make sure that I am able to water the bed as most efficient as I can, and I find that using a wand allows me to do that. Because of the fact that I want to be in the root zone, not overhead watering, the wand allows me to get right deep into the bed of the plant, right at that root zone like I was speaking about, with very minimal effort. Another cool thing about these wands outside of the length is that you have several different settings. Now when I'm watering in my garden bed, I like to use a shower setting. And when I am doing my seedlings, I'll often go to the mister. It's pretty cool, right? Another real cool feature about this is it has a pressure gauge. It allows me to regulate the pressure as I'm watering, you know? Check it. A lot of pressure, lower pressure. A lot of pressure, little pressure, right? So that's a pretty cool feature as well. I normally keep mine all the way down to the lowest setting, especially when I go to water my bed, because again, I do not want to make any splash. So that just makes it that much easier for me to water by hand. When to water kind of just depends. What is it that you're watering? What kind of plants? Do those plants like a lot of water, or do they not want a lot of water? What kind of soil do you have? Is it a sandy soil so that water is just going to be rushing through it a lot faster, thus drying the bed out? Or is it more like a clay-like soil to now where more water is going to be retained into the soil, so now you have to water less? One short shot way that I always determine if my bed is dry or not is by sticking my finger into the soil. If my finger comes up muddy like it is right now, I think it's pretty safe to say I don't need to water. Now, if it comes up dry or with a minimum amount of water on it, then I know it's time to water. And I normally stick my finger in right about 2 inches deep. Because different types of plants like different amounts of water, I often try to keep this type of plants in one bed fairly similar. That way I can keep my watering schedule pretty simple. Alrighty, y'all, that's gonna pretty much do it for me. So don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to keep up with what it is that I'm doing, look for me on Instagram. I am Justin Gay. This is the Seeds of Xanxadu, y'all. Peace.